All right. It is the PFF forecast. It is Sunday night, week 3. Just an average Steelers-Raiders game to get us ready to go. We're going to talk about Josh McDaniels and what the hell that just was. We're going to do some buy or sell on week 3. We're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins, the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, their big wins. And then we're going to get to the week 4 Guess the Line. It's going to be a great show. Let's rock. Welcome to the PFF forecast. If you are a longtime listener, member of the printing press, it's good to have you here. If you're new and you're joining us because you just witnessed something on Sunday Night Football you did not think you were going to see and you want answers, we welcome you as well. This is the PFF forecast. I'm George. I'm joined by Brad and Arjun. I think we always start with a little buy or sell here, a little bit of reaction. Brad, I have a feeling I know what yours is going to be, so I will let you lead it off and we can get right into it.
Yeah, how can we not start with the game we just watched? A true disaster class. Across the NFL, some of the funniest field goals I've ever seen this week. We had Denver to go down 35-13 at halftime. We had the Commanders to lose 37-3. We had the Bears to go down 41-3. And the beautiful poetry of what I'm getting to right here is one of the most famous field goals of all time by Matt LaFleur in the playoffs. He goes woke on us, goes for 2 down 7, or goes for 2 down 8. To be down 6, wins the game 18-17 because of that decision. And Josh McDaniels, I guess, did not watch that Buccaneers-Packers game. So 3 minutes, 50 seconds left, kicks a field goal. That already was inexplicable. Gets a lucky first down because of a penalty on DeMarvin Leal on the field goal. It's 4th and 4 at, the 7-yard line? And you kick a field goal with like 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. And shockingly, the Raiders lost the game tonight by 5 points.
Okay, I'm going to sell the first part of that though. Okay, so I actually think that Josh McDaniel in the first decision is not as terrible, okay, as we want it to be. So he's got 3+ minutes on the clock. He needs 2 scores. And he's got a lot of field left to go to score a touchdown. So the first field goal, I think that the right decision, the math would say the right decision is to go for it, but it is not as inexplicable. The problem is once you get the penalty and you take the penalty, you now have to go for it because the time that as time decreases, the chances that you get the ball back decrease extremely quickly. And so you can't put yourself in a position to have 15 seconds and 85 yards to go. You can't do that. So you have to go for it the second time. If you were going to kick it again, then you had to take the kick the first time. And so I'm trying to think of a good example on this, guys. Like you make a somewhat dumb decision, you get like a second chance, and then you're so happy you get the second chance, but you just still mess it up again. Like, I don't really have one off the top of my head, except for like you say something really stupid in a conversation, like no one notices, and then all of a sudden you just poop yourself 5 minutes later. So that was inexplicable. It was funny because I think the day kind of started with one McDaniel doing something that was so impressive and ended with one just destroying themselves on national TV. Arjun, do you disagree with that at all?
No, I think what you said is correct. The first one wasn't as egregious as the second one for sure. And I think the kind of like calculus behind that also changes. Like if you do take the field goal up 8, you only need a touchdown to win. Whereas, if you do score that touchdown, you still have to go for the 2-point conversion and
to get to overtime.
Potentially, yeah, you have to get to overtime, and there's going to be time left probably, so that you have to stop the Steelers from scoring. My biggest thing was, the reasoning I'm sure we'll hear from McDaniels in his press conference is, our defense was playing well in that second half, right? Let me tell you something. Prior to Sunday Night Football, the Raiders' defensive EPA per play allowed in the first 2 weeks of the game or of their season compared to every other team's first 3 weeks of the season. They ranked 31st in defensive EPA per play allowed. That is the elite defense we're going to hear. I'm assuming Josh McDaniels talk about in this press conference that we strung together a couple stops towards that end of the game. Like I had faith in our defense to get that stop. And of course, what happens? Steelers convert a third down and basically give the Raiders under 20 seconds to drive 90 yards with Jimmy G, which we know is just not going to happen. So again, it's not that second 4th and 4 that they kick the field goal. I couldn't understand it. And if I hear him say he was trusting his defense, it's just incredible coaching right there.
Matt Canada versus the Raiders defense is when a stoppable force meets a very movable object, is what we just witnessed on live television.
Oh man. Okay, well that was more than we expected to talk about that game. Let's keep it moving here. And let's get to the next buy or sell. Arjun, you're up.
Yeah, I did want to talk about the Denver Broncos because yes, they had one of the worst performances defensively, maybe of all time. I think the Dolphins were averaging about like 1.1 EPA per pass. They no throwaways. There was no resistance at all from this Broncos defense. I mean, this is a defense that's been really bad. Jimmy G averaged the Jimmy G we watched tonight averaged a 0.5 EPA per play in week 1 against this Denver team when Denver was at home. So yes, this Denver defense is terrible. I'm going to push back a little bit, and I'm actually buying the Broncos offense mainly because I do think Russell Wilson has been solid, or maybe even solid. It might be understated. I think he's been better, way better than last year. His, the EPA numbers from today averaged a 0.02, which isn't great. But you look at his grading, 84 PFF passing grade, 4 big time throws. You could say a lot of that maybe came in garbage time. I honestly kind of stopped following that game in the third quarter. I'm assuming a lot of people did also, but I think Sean Payton really has this offense in a good spot, even though they only did put up 20 points. And their defense is not going to face the vaunted Miami Dolphins offense with the MVP every single week. So I'm not like completely out on the Broncos yet. I know this is a terrible performance, but I think their offense is trending in the right direction in some way. So curious to hear if you guys agree with that or not, or if I'm just too bullish on Russell Wilson bouncing back.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'm definitely buying. I mean, I think you even see some young pieces like Marvin Mims now has 6 catches for 190 yards and a touchdown in his career so far. He's averaging over 30 yards per reception. He also had a 99-yard return, I want to say, today for a touchdown. Like, they'll work him in more and more. He still plays like 15 snaps a game. You're getting a healthy Judy back in the fold. Yeah, no, their offense is legit. They have not been the problem. It's crazy how the NFL works that way. You have a top 5 defense last year, and now you have the worst defense in the league by a mile. That's why we talk about the instability of defense so often. And I guess shout out Ejiro Evero, obviously made a very big difference last year in Denver.
I think it's interesting. Last week on this show, you talked me out of taking the Broncos plus 6.5, Arjun, and it took all of like 5 minutes for me to thank you for that this week. And the reason that I was interested in taking them was because their offense had looked really good. Timo puts this out, PFF_Moo, every single week, where you look at how offenses convert into a new set of downs. And the Broncos have been top 3. They've been really good at converting on the first couple of downs. And so I agree. I think I'm buying that. What I would caveat that with is I think the Broncos are in a really interesting position right now. They play in Patrick Mahomes' division. You can't get beat 70-20 and think you're a serious team. Like they're not a team where you go, oh yeah, they have a nice defense, they have a nice offense, and like that's good. They can build towards the future. Like they have a nice offense, but need to be contending for a Super Bowl, and they're not even remotely close. And so I am selling that this offense is good enough to keep it together. I would be looking at how I find a way to Caleb Williams. That's just me personally.
Starts next week in Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. As AJ Thomas is saying here. Okay. Mine that I'm going to throw up here is, are you guys buying or selling that the once locked up AFC South is up for grabs. So we talked about this in the summer. What would we make the Jags to win this division? The Jags were the most chosen team in Survivor and Circa Million Survivor. Over 40% of entrants chose the Jaguars this week, and they lost. And they made CJ Stroud look like he should have been the number 1 pick. So are you guys buying or selling? I'll start with you, Arjun. The AFC South being up for grabs with either the Texans, the Titans, or the Colts as the Jaguars flounder.
I am not. I'm selling that any team. I still think it's the Jaguars division. Pretty bad performance today, but I don't know. I think the Texans are really banged up right now. I think they had a great performance today, but I think they're going to be too banged up to be competitive in other games. I think the Colts. I mean, they're fighting. This is a team I was fading all off season, and I think they had a pretty good performance today. But it took 4 50-yard field goals from Matt Gay to make that happen. I don't know if we're ever going to see a kicker, or I don't know if there has been any other game where kickers made 4 50-yarders. So it took a little bit of positive variance for them to win that one. And then, I mean, the Titans are the Titans. Like, Vrabel's going to keep them competitive, but Ryan Tannehill I think he's washed. The only really, I mean, I think he had a solid day today, even though he went through for 100 yards. He was really just, Myles Garrett was living in the backfield. He graded out pretty well, but they have no offensive firepower that really gets me going. I still think as long as T-Law's healthy, I think, Jackson will figure it out. I think they're just going through some play calling issues on offense right now with Press Taylor taking over those duties from Doug Peterson.
Yeah, I want to buy. I think I was cautiously optimistic about Indy all offseason. I didn't really understand they're going to be picking top 5. I get that Richardson obviously was coming in raw, but they didn't have an untalented roster last year. They just all played like crap. And now the offensive line is playing better football. Bernard Raymond's been a better left tackle. Michael Pittman also was an 8th to 10th rounder in fantasy for some reason and remains a dozen target per game type player. I am still selling though. I just don't know if any of these teams are going to be able to sustain it through a full season, but I think the Jaguars do have fundamental issues. They do get Cam Robinson back at left tackle. Maybe then they slide Walker Little or Anton Harrison to guard full time, which I think improves all of those spots. And yeah, I mean, Arjun's a great shout. Maybe Doug Peterson also needs to take back play calling duty because today was rough. I mean, that defense, forget the offensive line for Houston. No Derek Stingley, no Tavir Thomas. Neither starting safety. That was a pathetic outing by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, the Colts. I want to buy the Colts, and I think if we knew Anthony Richardson could stay healthy, I think I would buy them. Their interior is really good. I am a Shane Steichen believer. I have been for a while. I honestly think you look at the Chargers. The Chargers have actually been really, really good offensively this year. So, I'm not sure it's as big of an issue, but when they had Mike Lombardi there, you let Shane Steichen go. What a nightmare. So I think the Colts are spunky, but I'm not selling the Jags. I'm not buying any other team being able to beat them. And here's why. There's a lot of bad variance on their side of things. Pending review, Trevor Lawrence is the second highest graded quarterback in the NFL right now. He leads the league in big time throws. You know what else he leads the league in? Dropped passes by his receivers. Drop passes by his receivers when they are open, okay, as well. So he's got 10 big time throws and 3 touchdowns. You just don't see that, right? Brock Purdy has 1 big time throw and 10 touchdowns. So that will get back. That will revert to the mean. I agree with the play calling side of things, but I am not selling the Jags yet. I will say this. I am more worried about the Cowboys offense than I am the Jaguars offense. I'm not very excited about what you're seeing from Dak Prescott and that group. I feel like when I'm watching Dak Prescott, actually, I'll say this in general. I feel like unless I am watching the Dolphins or the Chiefs, I feel like every quarterback that I'm watching is Kirk Cousins. Do you Arjun, that's your graph, right? The levels of Kirk Cousins. I feel like the NFL this year, you put everyone on that graph where it's levels of Kirk Cousins. It's everybody. Because what do I mean by that? What I mean by that, I'm curious how you define this, Arjun. To me, what that means is that with any quarterback, it's like, yeah, this could be a top 5 performance. This could be a bottom 5 performance. I have no idea. It's probably going to land somewhere in the middle by the end of the game, but I just have no clue. Like that to me is the Kirk Cousins thing, where with Mahomes, I think Tua and the Dolphins, because that offense, that you feel a lot more comfortable, but like that's really the only one that's out there right now.
I think right now to me, I probably put Josh Allen and Herbert up there, and those are the only other two quarterbacks I think are playing at a high level. Allen still, maybe being a little bit careless with the ball compared to Herbert. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the quarterback play has been down. I mean, scoring just in general has been down outside of the Dolphins this year. So I think that's a great point. And yeah, I think the way I would look at it is like I'd expect every quarterback to have like a 70 or below PFF grade and like a 50th percentile EPA performance every single game. So that's kind of how I would look at it from a statistical perspective.
Okay, we're going to get into guessing lines. I have a special one though before we get into it. So in a few weeks, we're going to get Chiefs Dolphins in Germany, and so that'll be a neutral field. And we don't have Chiefs Dolphins this week. So I am curious what you guys would make. I did not prepare you guys for this. What would you make Chiefs Dolphins on a neutral field? E.g. in Germany. Brad, start with you.
I want to give the Chiefs a full field goal just because of the defense, which sounds weird. Like I think the Kansas City defense is right now with the lack of Jalen Ramsey, Jalen Phillips been in and out of the lineup. It's probably 2.5. I'd probably just go Kansas City 2.5. But yeah, full field goal like isn't in the question.
I would also go 2.5, but trending 3.
There we go.
I think
2.5 minus
make
115. Yeah.
Yeah.
A Tyreek Hill revenge game. What I think shouldn't be lost on people is that the Denver Broncos are an abhorrently bad defense. The Dolphins have faced 2 abhorrently bad defenses so far in Kansas City and Denver, but they did so today without Jalen Waddle, and the number of fast players that they can put on the field is really remarkable. And McDaniel is absolutely in his bag right now. I don't think you can make this a full 3. And I think you could go you could go to a pick 'em. The Chiefs offense, while Mahomes is amazing, I mean, are you really buying Rashee Rice like in clutch important situations? Are you buying him? Like, I get that you can buy him against the Bears when they literally can't. Rashee Rice would run behind a guy, turn around, and the ball would be there, and then he'd run for 10 more yards. Like, that will not work in a real football game against a real football team. Sorry, Brad.
No, it's true. True. Cater Coho's good in the slot for Miami. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Like, and they don't have Jalen Ramsey back yet. Javon Holland has been amazing. They have some real players on that team. And Vic Fangio, to me, is the secret weapon for the Dolphins. Everyone is talking about the offense. The offense is amazing. But I think that is such a step up for them and what he could do to put together a game plan defensively. I'm actually going to go less than 2.5. I think it should be pretty close to a pick 'em. Like I would be tempted to just make it a pick 'em. So we'll see. What week is that? Do we know? Do you guys know what week that is? It's like 10, 12, something like that. I don't know. Well, anyways, we'll get to guessing the lines here as we do every single week. Before we get to that, though, AG1. If you're listening to this, it is a little late, especially if you're on the East Coast. So you got to make sure you stay healthy, get the right supplements to keep yourself from getting sick during this football season. So drink AG1. AG1 gives you the supplement backbone that you need to stay healthy without, worrying about what you're eating on, an everyday basis. All you have to do is drink 1 pack a day and you're just set up and you're ready to go. It also keeps you super regular, which is awesome if you're traveling. The travel packs are an absolute godsend. I take them with me every single time I go somewhere. And it also is a sign that you have a little grit. Okay. Because not everyone can just drink AG1 and just, bounce back. So if you want to be like Dan Campbell and the Lions, drink AG1.com/PFF and you'll get a free 5 travel packs plus a year's supply of vitamin A. So go to drinkag1.com/PFF. All right. It is time to guess the lines as we do every single week. And you can join in on this as well. So now members of the Printing Press Discord can enter the weekly Set the Lines contest. We will send out your scorecard, and you'll have a chance to win some really cool stuff, including a printing press hat, and just see how good you are at setting the lines. Cool thing about the contest is we look at how accurate you are in terms of actually setting the lines against the market. And when you disagree, are you on the right side of that disagreement? And we talk about that every single Wednesday. So with that, it is time for us to get into it. Let's do a quick recap because, Brad, I'd be remiss. I talk about my record every single time. But this is where we were at last week. And let me see if I'll zoom in here so that people can actually see what we're talking about. But Brad, you undefeated thus far. So we placed bets every single Sunday night. You had 5 on the board, Brad, and you went undefeated. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I got to look forward to something every Sunday as a Bears fan. So I had that, which was great. And it included, hey, you guys laughed at me when I said Chiefs -16.5. I should have said -24.5. I was way short on the number there.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we are on to week 4. I didn't calculate the overall record. I think I'm still in the lead, but I am feeling a little bit of Brad on my heels. So
no,
here we go.
For this year, you're not. No, for this year, we were tied coming into the week, and I'm 5-0. So I'm in first place. Nice try though.
Larger sample is important, Brad. Okay.
Fair enough. Dating back to last year, you're up by like 20 bets still. So
the edginess is coming through. So hopefully the person that asked for more edginess is
that's for him.
All right, here we go. So Thursday Night Football, Detroit and Green Bay, a rematch of the Week 18 game that Detroit hung a banner for. Brad, what did you make this?
Made it a pick.
I went Lions -2.
Wow, interesting. I went. Let's see if I can actually find this here. I went with Green Bay -2.5. So this is going to be interesting. Let's see. Where is the market? Where is this game? Why am I not seeing it? Here we go. Green Bay +1, +1.5. Let me see here. This is great podcasting, but I have to re-log into.
Yeah. DraftKings says Packers +1.
But FanDuel has it 1.5. It's really split across the board. It seems like between 1 and 1.5.
We'll call it 1. Okay, so
no teaser protection.
For teaser legs, make it 1.5.
Yeah,
it is -1, -112 for the Lions on DraftKings, so it's gently shaded towards that side. So,
all right, I'll start here. So let me start by asking you, Brad, the guys that sat out this week. I know LaFleur said it wasn't because they had a game on Thursday. I kind of think it was because they had a game on Thursday. Do you think those guys are coming back? Jair, Bakhtiari, Watson, Jenkins.
That is my exact logic. So you and I are in the exact same page. I do. You have a divisional game. The team that, like you said, knocked you out of the playoffs last year. The guys probably, you didn't just sit them out for that, but they were close. You think maybe you can still beat the Saints at home. I think that is exactly why they didn't play. I think Aaron Jones, Christian Watson definitely play. Jair's popped up late week, so I'm not as confident in that one. And then Bakhtiari, who the hell knows? And Elton Jenkins, I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, the weapons, yes, I think both those guys play this game.
Okay, so I like Green Bay here. I'm gonna get a bet on the board early. I like Green Bay. I thought they actually played better than the score against New Orleans would insinuate. And that's backed up by what we saw in Timo's noise canceled score. He actually had Green Bay scoring like 27 points in that game. They were really efficient offensively, and I just believe in what LaFleur is doing. And I don't think Detroit defensively is anywhere near as good as Desmond Ridder made them seem. Okay. Desmond Ridder is horrible. I am not giving Detroit a bunch of credit for beating Desmond Ridder. So I like Green Bay. I think they should be the favorite here at home against a really good Detroit team. But I think Green Bay is a solid team, and they were down a significant number of players today, and still were able to win. And I think win more convincingly than the score showed. Brad, you joining me?
Yeah, I'm going to put this in the back pocket as a potential teaser leg. I don't like it by itself, but I do like getting it over a touchdown.
Yeah,
I feel like this year I've gone against you guys more than in years past. Like I like the Lions here. They really impressed me today. I was really worried about their defense. It could just be Desmond Ridder sucks, which is probably the case. But like I'm not too worried about Aaron Jones coming back, mainly because of how impressed I've been with the Detroit run defense. I mean, they rank 9th in rush EPA and 3rd in rushing success rate allowed on defense. Watson back could be huge, but one of the interesting things about Green Bay's offense that I've noticed is I don't think there's a bigger change in rank between a team's offensive EPA and their offensive success rate. So what I mean by that is Green Bay right now, in terms of their dropback EPA, they're ranked 3rd, but in terms of dropback success rate, which is measuring the per play success of how well they're performing on a per play basis, they rank 17th. So that drop off just means they're being carried by explosive plays, which will, I think, tend to regress to the mean. Detroit secondary has been a little bit banged up. Obviously, they lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for basically the season. Emmanuel Mosley hasn't really been playing. So I'm a little, that gives me some pause, but, Ben Johnson, I still think he's cooking. Jared Goff, I think, left a lot of points on the table today. I think Dan Campbell will have this team ready like he has in years past. So I will be taking the Lions. I think, Packers offense is due for some regression, not going to be as explosive. And I think Lions walk into Green Bay and get the stub.
So I actually agree with everything you just said. I think both defense. Sorry to cut you off. I just like actually how both defenses are playing, and think it might be a lower scoring game than we'd expect, which makes me lean points. But yeah, I do agree that I think fundamentally Detroit is a better football team than the Green Bay Packers.
Atlanta, Jacksonville. This game is in the UK. Oh, by the way, the printing press had this at 1.1, so they were more accurate. By the way, last week, the printing press overall, we allocate 10 units, fake units of bets every single week. And the printing press overall was up 1.8 units per entry on average. So it does seem to actually be helpful to kind of know where that line is being set up. Okay, Atlanta, Jacksonville. This, of course, in London. Brad?
Jags -3.
Yeah, I crossed 3 and I went Jags -3.5.
Went Jags -3 as well, Brad. And this is Jags -3 in most places. Looks like it's shaded a little bit towards 2.5. DraftKings has it at 3, -105. So does Circa. So we'll call this 3. Arjun, you're the only one that is on the other side of this. Are you riding with Trevor Lawrence here?
Yeah, I'm riding with Trevor Lawrence. I think you outlined some great points actually talking about, he leads the league in big time throws, has suffered from a lot of drops from his receivers. But you give me a chance to get a top 7, 8 quarterback against a bottom 5, maybe bottom 3 quarterback in Desmond Ridder. I'm going to be taking that top 8 quarterback every time at a field goal or less. I also think the Falcons defense, again, I think Lions left points on the board. Amon-Ra had 102 yards. Sam Laporta had 84. Outside of AJ Terrell, there is no cornerbacks for Atlanta. Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, I think Christian Kirk's overs are going to be very appealing out of the slot. Then Engram profiles pretty similarly to Sam Laporta. So I think both of them are in for big days. And I just, I don't think the Jags defense has been that impressive. They have, a solid run defense, which I don't know, again, how much that matters against the Falcons, who have seemed to run the ball less efficiently than I thought they would coming into the year. But again, this matchup is really just buying Trevor Lawrence at his lowest, I feel like, and just fading Desmond Ridder to hell as much as I possibly can.
Could not agree more. Won't even give analysis. I am also on it, just like last week when I took Detroit, in a heartbeat.
So are you going to bet this despite just being at 3?
Yep, still betting it. There's always a thing of like, am I guessing what it's going to be versus what I feel? That one was more. I wanted to go over give them the hook as well. It's in London, so I'm guessing maybe they get less home field advantage than if it was just in Jacksonville. But yeah, if it gets 2.5, also if it's trending that way, that's beautiful.
Yeah, that really is. I'm gonna pass only because I don't want to jinx you guys. But know that I'm on it. Obviously, I talked a lot about Trevor Lawrence, as you pointed out, Arjun, and I think selling the Jags, thinking that Trevor Lawrence isn't playing well, is what a lot of people will do, because that's what right. You're just looking at the box score and you're going, oh, they haven't put up points. Trevor Lawrence must be garbage. That's like literally the whole reason that PFF exists. So, I think that Trevor Lawrence, though, can continue to play well, and his team can continue to let him down. So I'm going to pass on this one. Okay. The game of the week, which is for some reason being played early, is Miami at Buffalo. Brad.
I went Buffalo -2.5.
I went Buffalo -2.
Okay. I went Buffalo by point. Very much considered making this a pick, but gave them the point there. It is, where are we here? Why can I not find this game? It's got to be on here. You guys help me out. Why don't I see it here?
Yep. I got 3. Oh, wow.
Here it is.
A full 3 on DraftKings.
3.
Shaded towards Miami, though. Miami is -118 at +3.
I see circa at just a -110. Yeah, wow. That's interesting. So 2.5.
I'm seeing 2. Yeah, 2.5 shaded towards 3, though.
Yeah. So yeah, I see 2.5 at FanDuel, but it's -118. I think 3 is the number to put it at. Here. Okay, this is interesting. So, what is it that the market is seeing that, I guess, like, where do I differ from them here? Sam Howell, I think, had the benefit of what we just saw as playing one of the worst defenses in the National Football League in Denver. And so, sacking a guy 9 times is going to give you a huge, huge leg up. I don't think they're going to sack Tua 9 times. Tua didn't get sacked a single time today. And, I think against really good teams, and the Dolphins are a good team, the Bills are going to struggle a little bit more offensively because they actually lack some depth at the receiver position. I think this is where it will show up here. I think a full 3 is too much. Now, what gives me pause is that I'm sure the total is going to be mid-50s. And so 3 isn't really worth a whole lot when, the total is so high. So as of now, actually, I think I'm going to pass, even though I'm off by a couple of points here, unless one of you guys can convince me.
I'll just say,
yeah,
go ahead.
Okay. I can't convince you to go off 3. I mean, this Dolphins offense is rolling. The Bills defense, like, their numbers are kind of skewed, but I think by just playing some not so great quarterbacks. Played Zach Wilson, they played Jimmy G without Jacoby Myers. And it's interesting how they went from a 0 sack performance in that game to a 9 sack performance with Sam Howell. And we know, Jimmy, it's not like Jimmy's some like mobile guy in the pocket. The main thing about the Dolphins offense is really that they just get the ball out so quick. So it's like whatever, even if you are bullish on that Bills pass rush, which I think they've done better without Von Miller than I thought they would, I don't think it's going to matter. It's going to come down to their coverage play, and it really, like, it depends on how much you believe in Trey White and everything. So I don't have a real feel on. I don't really feel like I want to bet the Dolphins because also the Bills have the superior quarterback in this game. Or my bad. Tua is the MVP. but Josh Allen, has been more consistent for multiple years. But I think just because of the elite quarterback play that the Bills have, it makes it tough to really fade Josh Allen at home when the offense has been rolling recently.
So you said exactly why I think the market had this all the way at a full field goal, which is that I think they are pricing the Bills defense as some elite unit. They've played Zach Wilson, the Raiders, and Jimmy Garoppolo, and then Sam Howell. And you also just pointed out I need to look at today's numbers, but like their pressure rate is high, but then if you split our data by pressures in over or under 2.5 seconds, it's like average. Like they're getting a lot of pressure later on when quarterbacks are holding onto the ball. Okay, well, Tua has the lowest average time to throw in the NFL. So I think that is going to be mitigated. And I think Trey White and Christian Benford and whoever's out there are going to be, running wind sprints chasing, Tyreek Hill and Waddle. The only reason I'm not betting this is because I don't know about Waddle yet. I know he didn't matter today in any way, shape, or form. But he's gonna matter in this game, and concussions are a little. I just don't know his status. So,
you actually bring up a really good point, and I just pulled this up. The Bills' pass rush grade as a team is actually ranked 22nd, and I think that speaks exactly to what you're saying. Like that is, not to use this phrase twice in one segment, but like this is why PFF exists. I'm taking the Dolphins. I think they're a superior team. I think what Judah said before the season started was, the Bills might not be as good as everyone thinks, and I still think that could be the case. Like I don't know that beating the Raiders handily, beating the Commanders handily, and losing to half of to Zach Wilson is like that impressive. So. I'm doing it. I'm going to go ahead and take the Dolphins here. All right, Minnesota, Carolina. Is this going to be Dalton, Brad?
Yes, 99% sure it's going to be Dalton.
All right, what do you make it?
I had Carolina plus 3.5 at home.
Same.
I have Carolina plus 2.5. Did I make it 2.5? Yeah, I did make it 2.5. I feel like kind of an idiot. I feel like this should be 3. Let's see. It is 3. That's what it is. DraftKings has it 2.5. I think 3 is probably the number that's going to be at. I will go ahead and start. I know I'm off this by a little bit. Man, I am tempted. I thought Dalton looked fine in that game. They're definitely a better offense without Bryce Young. If anything, the performance by Dalton today made me really question Bryce Young. That was my take. Was like, oh wow, this offense looks like dramatically better without Bryce Young. But I'm going to lay off this one because Minnesota's not trading Kirk Cousins. People need. I can tell you right now, you guys can sleep in tomorrow, because you don't need to get to wake up to watch Get Up, because I'll give you their first hour. The first hour is Mike Bloomberg talking about the Jets trading for Kirk Cousins. Okay. Like, I don't understand how that shows on ESPN, to be honest with you. Like, what are they doing here?
Second hour is talking about Dak Prescott losing to the Cardinals. So there's your first 2 hours. Yeah.
Let's bring in Mike Tannenbaum to talk about whether Kirk Cousins can get traded to the Jets. All right. Brad, are you betting this?
I'm also staying away. Adam Thielen revenge game. Gotta fear the guy. Just had a true bounce back today.
Ooh.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just staying away. I want to take Minnesota minus 2.5 on the DraftKings number here, but on the full 3, no, I'm staying away.
I will be taking our Minnesota Vikings. They have to get a dub at some point, right? Like they have to. And like their noise cancel. Their noise cancel score from Timo stuff it was a tie. Wasn't it like a tie game?
Yeah, 31-all. You're right.
Yeah, like they're better than the scores indicate. Like this is the one score regression that hit them. But I also just want to fade the Panthers at any cost. Brian Flores, the madman that he is, blitzed on 41 of his 50 of the Chargers' 50 dropbacks. Keenan Allen just had an absurd day to beat that, and like Adam Thielen and Keenan Allen are in the similar vein, just older veterans, but I think Keenan Allen's a way better separator at this point. And I think to beat blitzing, you need receivers that can separate, which the Panthers obviously don't have, because any Panthers fan who, has commented on my Bryce Young is not a good quarterback right now, all they're telling me is, the receivers aren't separating. So I think they're going to struggle a lot against this super blitzing scheme or super heavy blitzing scheme from Flores. I don't think there's any corner on that team that can cover Justin Jefferson, especially with JC Horn out. And I think the Vikings offense has actually been good. It's just, I think their defense has kind of let them down, but this is a prime bounce back spot against a receiving core that just can't really separate. So I'll be taking the Vikings here.
You told me, I'm in.
I'm very sold. However, I already have a bunch of Vikings futures, so I'm already on them. It is interesting. Like the Vikings, I think today actually got a little bit of positive, as crazy it'll sound, some positive regression on the turnover side of things. So something that won't show up in that noise canceled score is the fact that like Alexander Mattison absolutely fumbled the ball at the 3-yard line and for some reason was given forward progress. That was absolutely bananas and ridiculous. So yeah, the worry that I would have is that the Vikings defense is really, really, really bad. And Dalton is a serviceable quarterback who can throw accurately. And like, that's kind of what you need. So anyways, I'll let you guys keep rolling on that. And won't jinx you there. This should be flexed into Sunday Night Football, as someone mentioned on the podcast. This is Denver at Chicago. We brought up Miami's incredible offensive performance. Didn't take a sack, didn't have a throwaway, didn't have a scramble, had a target on every single drop back, and had a 1.13 EPA per play. And Brad, I'm not sure if the Chicago Bears could do that if they were just practicing against air.
No,
like
I'm confident in telling you they could not do that. Yeah, you're saying this should be flexed. This should be flexed to, how Hawaii kicks off at 11:59 Eastern? That's the time slot they should put this game in, just so no one watches it.
All right, what'd you make it?
Yeah, I got, on that note, I got Bears plus 1.5.
I went Bears plus 3.5.
Jesus.
Nice. I split you guys. I went Bears plus 3. The printing press was at 2.9. Printing press has been like really on the number, by the way, so far. I think because the spreads are so small. What is this here?
Oh my God.
I'm seeing 3.5.
So am I. Holy shit.
Market consensus, it seems like.
Can we just acknowledge very quickly the Dolphins? I mean, the Broncos give up 70 points, one of the worst, probably the worst defensive performance ever, because I don't care about 1950s football. They had the worst defensive performance ever. They lost by 50, and they are over a field goal favorites on the road against the Chicago Bears. That's worse than what happened on the field against Kansas City. Is this spread? This spread is the most disrespectful spread in the history of organized football, and it's not a bad spread. I'm just pointing that out. It's incredible. It's truly incredible. Anyways, rant over.
Oh. What happens to the loser of this game? If Denver loses this game, is anything happening? I mean, if Denver loses this game, this has got to be the most embarrassing start to a season you could possibly have.
At least they're paying everyone on their roster. Like, at least we can hang our hat on 2 firsts and a bunch of cap space. Like, Denver's, they'd have none of those things. But yeah, whoever loses this game, their season's already over regardless. But it's double over if they lose this one.
Yeah. What happens if Chicago loses this game?
So I've mentioned on the pod before, they've never fired a coach in the middle of the season. But hey, if they lose this game at home to Denver and they're 0-4 with probably, I don't know, point differential in the 60s, maybe they change that precedent for the first time.
Yeah. Arjun, you are a fan of the Denver Broncos. Are you intrigued? You're on the number.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I know I was buying the Broncos offense, and I mean the Bears defense is not very good. I know we're talking about the Broncos defenses. The Bears defense is on a pretty similar level. 30th in EP per play allowed, and 19th in success rate. So they're just giving up a bunch of explosives, which, ironically is actually what the Broncos offense has been pretty good at. You see just Marvin Mims averaging, 30 yards a catch or something. And I don't know. The Bears offense is so anemic. I mean, Justin Fields played the entire game and didn't throw for 100 yards. I just I have no faith that they're really going to be able to move the ball. They just haven't shown anything like that. So, yeah, I'm going to be taking the Broncos and just fading the Bears into oblivion.
I think that's fair. I'm going to pass on this game. I could not bear to watch this game. Though whoever loses, I think the loser could be the winner here in this game.
Oh, absolutely. That's for sure.
It's that's a coveted number one pick. You could start putting the whoever loses this game, you can start doing the Caleb Williams jersey swaps for this team. Baltimore goes to Cleveland, an AFC North divisional matchup. Brad?
I had Cleveland -2.
I had Cleveland -1.5.
I had Cleveland by 2.5. The consensus of the printing press was -1.2. And let's see here. We have got Cleveland +1.5. Well, it's all over the place. So Circa's at -2.5, FanDuel -1.5, DraftKings -2. I guess there's some book out there that has them as a underdog. But anyways, the consensus appears to be 2.5. This feels like a great spot to get Baltimore to actually hit a teaser leg. That would be my initial take. The Cleveland defense, we were buying the Cleveland Browns to win the division pre-flop preseason. Feel pretty good about it. Their defense has been absolutely unbelievable. And I would say Baltimore's offense maybe took a little bit of a step back today. So I'm tempted here to take Baltimore as a teaser leg.
Very tempting. Yeah, real quick. The Browns held out 3.2 yards per play, which is apparently the best in a century. That's how good they've been through 3 games, that is, obviously. And another success rate they've allowed is 25% through 3 games. I mean, truly preposterous numbers. Yeah, they should be, if they win this, they should have been 4-0 and 3-0 in the AFC North winning this game. But they lost a game in which they were leading going into the fourth and held the Steelers to -7 yards and still lost that game. But anyway, I will say, too, I do want to throw the teaser. I'm not going to. Deshaun Watson played some football today for a change. He had the worst play I've ever seen in my entire life, throwing the ball backwards about 20 yards. But everything else was very pretty, going the correct direction.
Yeah, George, I think I'll join you on the teaser. I think, if you're going to be buying the Ravens just straight up, I think it really depends on how much you're buying this Ravens passing attack, which I was impressed with against the Bengals, but I think they took a step back today. Lamar took a step back in general. And I think we have to commend that the Cleveland Browns have gone from literally the league's worst run defense to the league's best run defense in one off season. Could just be Jim Schwartz, could be, all the pieces they brought in. But yeah, I like them as a teaser leg, but I'm not as bullish on their passing attack yet that I can take the Ravens at all here, or straight up.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. The Baltimore offense looked really terrible today, but I think the Colts are a little underrated. Pittsburgh and sorry, wait, Brad, did we get to you there, or did I?
I pass.
No.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh and Houston, the spunky Texans. CJ Stroud's going to have a really good game grade this week. Head to pff.com to see tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Brad, would you make this?
Texans +1.5.
Whoa. Okay, I went Texans +3.
I was even more bullish. I went Texans +1. I definitely made this line before seeing the before watching the game. Press was at 2.1. Let's see where this ended up. It's going to be like 3 now. Texans. Oh my God. 3.5. 3.5 on FanDuel. 3.5 on DraftKings. 3.5.
Trending 3 though.
Yeah. I'm not betting this game. I'm sorry. I'm not drinking the CJ Stroud Kool-Aid quite yet. I can't do it.
Brad, and before you say anything, if you're gonna bet the Texans, you literally said in our chat that we don't bet on these are games that Tomlin wins. Tomlin gets to over 500 or 500 and up, beating up on teams like the Texans. You said that. You can bet them if you can bet the Texans if you still want to. I'm just saying.
So I'm not gonna bet the Texans because I realized kind of going through it, like Stroud was awesome today. He was missing his offensive line. Maybe he gets Tunsil back, but even before this week, I know he was like top 5 in EPA per dropback when kept clean and like 30th when pressured. We know Pittsburgh is going to get a whole bunch of pressure, So yeah, no, I'm staying away here. But also, yes, that is a fact. That's what Tomlin feasts on the bad teams. I'm not betting 3.5 because I do think Stroud and that team is pretty spunky. But yeah, I'm staying away.
Yeah, it was Pittsburgh's last 2 wins are. There's a time to fade the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think it's this game, but I mean, Kenny Pickett tried to throw interceptions for the entire first half. Should have. I don't know. I definitely.
What's the total, George? What are you seeing for the total? I don't see the game listed.
41.
I only have the spreads up.
Okay, 41.
Yeah, 41 and a half, or 4. Yeah, 41, 40 and a half.
Okay,
I think
too low. I was
going
gonna
to
think.
go ahead. To George's point, we'll get to fade the Steelers in a little bit. Matt Canada is apparently having a more prominent role in Pickett's development, which is great news for fading the Steelers in the future. So, just another thing to keep in mind.
That's good for him. By the way, this morning I saw something that was like the Canada report. It's like it was like there was actually something serious that was happening in Canada, and of course it came on my Twitter feed at like 8:30, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on with Matt Canada? It was nothing to do with Matt Canada. Before we move on, another week of football is on the way, and if you do not yet have an account at DraftKings Sportsbook, now is the time to go get one. Use promo code PFF when you sign up. Bet $5 to get $200 in bets, free bets instantly. Bonus bets is what they're calling them, I guess. Throw 5 down on any of this week's matchups. We've obviously gone through a few already. And as soon as you do, you will get those bonus bets directly into your account, and you can then go use them. So it's very, very easy. Just go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use promo code PFF when you sign up, and new customers get the opportunity to bet just $5 and then get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with promo code PFF. The crown is yours. And now, the favorite part of the podcast, this is why people tune in. Here is the disclaimer for all people that are about to go use DraftKings Sportsbook. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in the great state of Kansas, licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, Louisiana, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football. Terms for eligibility, terms and responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. All right, I just wanted to make it through that. We are on to Indianapolis, the Rams and the Colts. The Rams, of course, play tonight against the Bengals. Colts equaling out. Is Anthony Richardson expected to be back, Brad?
He could be, but I don't know. But I would guess he plays.
Yeah. What'd you make this?
I had it as a pick.
I went Rams +1.
Rams +1. Okay.
Yes.
This is in Indy, right? I didn't mess this up.
Yep.
Okay. I have the Colts +2.5. The press was at plus 1.4. And let's see here. This looks like Colts plus 1.5 at FanDuel, but minus 120. DraftKings has it -1, minus 105. Circa -1, minus 110. Let's go with the Circa line because they're actually offering even. We'll go Colts by 1. So the matchup here I think is interesting. I'll just kick this off. I'm off by like 3.5 points, of course, crossing 0, which doesn't matter quite as much. So it worries me a little bit. I think the Colts have been pretty stout. I think the Rams are just a better team and have a better quarterback. So I think this is a good spot to take the Rams here, but I'm going to pass just because I don't know what's happened on Monday night, obviously yet, and so I don't want to take them and then have some injury. So pending they get through that game kind of unscathed, I do tend to like the Rams here.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the price here is in the trenches. I think the Colts have a pretty clear advantage, maybe on both sides of the ball. But we saw the Niners play well against, or the Rams play well against the Niners, kind of handle that type of matchup. I'm staying away as well, but I do think the Colts are going to be able to really win up front in this game and maybe kind of surprise people here.
Yeah, George, I think we should do a yes asterisk like we did last week. Rams get through. Puka, stays healthy. Stafford's healthy. No major injury for the Rams. I think I am on this train with you that I will bet the Rams. I want to point out, just from a schematic standpoint, if you've read any article in the past 3 years about the McVay tree, the Shanahan tree, those coaches were hired because they specifically know how to beat Gus Bradley defenses. The Gus Bradley, Robert Saleh, Dan Quinn cover 3 single high scheme versus McVay's wide zone play action boots. All of that are built to destroy Gus Bradley scheme, which is why the Gus Bradley tree or those type of coaches haven't been infiltrating defenses like Vic Fangio's has. This is McVay's, this is like a birthday present for him. I feel like this is the defense he's created his offense to destroy, to beat. The Colts corners pretty bad. I'm not saying that the Rams receivers are all that great outside of Puka, but the Rams offense is rolling. I personally have thought Matthew Stafford is the MVP of the league in the first 2 weeks. Don't know what happens tomorrow, but this is a great matchup for the Rams offense. And I think they will be rolling next week. So yes, I will. I'm going to do yes asterisk like I talked about, but I feel pretty confident that Rams offense puts up points here.
What are your thoughts on the total of 45 real quick before I move on?
I mean, without Richardson's status, I'm not as confident in that. Like Minshew looked competent, which is nice. And I think the Colts receivers are better than I gave them credit for initially. So yeah, I kind of like the total also. Maybe Rams team total specifically, but I wouldn't mind the over 45.
That's not the biggest bet you've placed in your life yet, Brad. We are waiting patiently.
We're not there yet.
Patiently. I should have teased it at the beginning. Maybe
you should have for sure.
Let people know. All right, Tampa Bay and New Orleans. Obviously, we haven't seen Tampa Bay play yet. We did see New Orleans. We saw Derek Carr go down with what appeared to be a not great shoulder injury. I can't imagine that he's playing next week. So this is probably Flamus, yeah?
It looked pretty bad, yeah. I would guess it's Flamus, and for that reason, I had Saints -2.5 in the revenge game, the Flamus revenge game.
I went Saints -3.
I went Saints -3 as well. I think Flamus revenge game is a positive. And I gave him an extra half point just because of that. I think a week of practice, is going to do him a lot of good. Those receivers are really solid. I am also kind of, anticipating that Baker Mayfield comes crashing back down to earth here. Let's see. What is this? Tampa Bay, New Orleans got 2.5 at Circa, 3 at FanDuel, 3 at DraftKings will make it an even 3. I think this is obviously right. Brad, are you taking the Tampa Bay Bucks?
No, I think they're going to get mollywopped tomorrow night or tonight, I guess, and then this will be a different spread. No.
All right. Arjun, unless you have any thoughts. Moving on.
Can I pose under 41 in this game? The
Wrote
Saints
it
have not
down.
allowed an offense to score more than 20 points in like their last 11 games. It's like absurd, right? So we think Baker's going to come crashing. I'm not as high on Flamus as you guys are. He wasn't that impressive today. And in general, I think the Bucs defense is pretty solid. If they at least have Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean healthy, I think this is going to be like a 17-14 or 17-10 game. So I kind of like the under. I take it if someone else takes it. Someone else takes it.
Ride, Arden.
With
I wrote
me.
it down. Let's ride.
All right.
I wrote it down. Let's do it.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Big fan of that.
4.5.
I'll ride with you.
Yeah. So we need a social to cleanse the palate.
We need one. Speaking of totals, the 51.5 that we got with Minnesota and the Chargers, that landed 52. It obviously closed 54.5. So the one time that closing line value actually matters, or actually works out in your favor. Washington and Philly. Sam Howell had a line today, now pending review, 9 sacks, 4 turnover-worthy plays. It honestly felt like every time I looked up in that game, he was getting sacked or turning the ball over, and it checks out. That was abysmal. They go travel to Philly. Philly plays tomorrow against the Bucs. Brad, would you make this?
Eagles -8.
I went Eagles -7.
I went Eagles by 8.5. And I kind of think 8's right number. Where is this one? Here it is. Oh no, that's the game tomorrow night. Eagles by 7. Okay. Eagles by 7. Man. So I watched Sam Howell take 9 sacks against the Bills. We just talked about the Bills being a decent defense, but like by no means a great defense. The Philadelphia Eagles defensive line is, I think they're the 2 best defensive lines in the NFL are the Eagles and the Niners. And I think that's going to be a disaster for Sam Howell. Like I think 9 sacks, he might take 10 in this game. So I think I'm going to take the Eagles. Divisional game, so that definitely scares me a little bit. But I just think that this is a really bad matchup for the Commanders.
Agreed. I'm just not taking it because they still have to play. But yeah, I'm with you, George.
Yeah. Well, I'll lay off.
I think after they play, this is going to be 8.5. So
agreed. You're right. Now's the time to strike.
I'm going to grab the 7. The printing press with this one coming at 7.9. All right, Cincinnati and Tennessee. Obviously, Cincinnati's still to play. Brad, right now, your best guess on whether Joe Burrow plays?
Oh. For next week, I'll say yes. For tomorrow, or today, no idea. Truly no idea.
Yeah, that's fair. What'd you make the line?
Tennessee +1.
I made this a pick 'em.
So I think that if I think Joe Burrow is going to play, in which case I would make this Tennessee getting 3. But certainly if he doesn't play, it's not going to be that. The printing press had this at 2.4. And let's see, is there a line out there? There are. It looks like, oh, wow. I'm seeing FanDuel and DraftKings both have Tennessee by 1.5. So that to me feels like a bit of a hedge on Burrow Is that how you guys read it? I mean, you guys are both closer to that than I am. But if Burrow actually plays in this game, I mean, the Bengals are a significantly better team than Tennessee, right?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a hedge. It's the Jake Browning spread.
Yeah. I'm laying off. Obviously, I'm not going to bet this right now.
Yeah.
Either of you guys have any thoughts?
No.
Vegas and the Chargers. This one is in Los Angeles. Brad, would you make this?
I had the Chargers laying 4.
Yeah, I think in my form I put Raider or Chargers laying or Chargers -3. But I saw Jimmy G tonight, and then I just saw he's evaluated for concussion, so I'm making this 4 as well now.
Yeah, I'm going to join you guys on that. I had 3.5 before the game started, and I would move it a half point. Let's see here. Las Vegas. This is 4.5 on FanDuel and DraftKings. We'll make it 4.5. So if Jimmy G plays, I actually think 4.5 is a pretty decent number. So the Pittsburgh Steelers could not cover Devontae Adams to save their lives. The idea that the Chargers are going to cover Devontae Adams is like, are you kidding me? So if Jimmy G actually, it doesn't matter if Jimmy G plays. I think Devontae Adams overs might be one of my favorite bets next week. I mean, he got like 18 targets in that game. And the Chargers pass rush should be better, but it's not as good as the Steelers. So I think Jimmy G will have a little bit more time, or O'Connell, who played really well during the preseason. So I'm tempted by 4.5. Obviously I wouldn't take it with O'Connell, but I think if Jimmy G is able to play, I think 4.5 is a good number. But the Chargers have been phenomenal offensively. So just the fact that they're the Chargers, they're the only team that can have a Dolphins-esque offense, but then somehow keep every game close. It's really impressive.
I do want to point out, I think Mike Williams suffered a pretty serious knee injury, potentially ACL, could be out for the season. That's a big blow, especially because Josh Palmer hasn't really been that good for them, and then Quentin Johnson, all they use him for are wide receiver screens. And then Derwin James also, he didn't finish the game, and I think it was a hamstring injury. So with Staley, I think he always tends to be on the more cautious side. Joey Bosa's played with 2 hamstring injuries in the past 2 weeks, so maybe Derwin gives it a go. But those are 2 big injuries, basically wide receiver 2 and your maybe best defensive player on defense. So Chargers, I think, are going to be pretty banged up going into this game. But Raiders could be also potentially being or not having Jimmy G. So I think 4.5 is probably the right spread, and it's probably a hedge against Jimmy, and that probably moves out to 5 if he's ruled out, 5.5, since he's worth about 2.5, 3 to the spread.
Yeah, that's right. Brad, any thoughts?
No, now that you went through that, too much confusion. I was going to mention the over 50.5, but the lack of the explosive Mike Williams plays, like the beautiful catch he had, what was that, down the right sideline on 3rd and 10 or whatever it was. The Chargers don't really have explosive plays in their bag without him. I know they got blitzed a ton today, but I'm not going to take an over when I just don't have a lot of faith in either quarterback. I mean, Herbert is capable of throwing the ball far, unlike Jimmy Garoppolo, but doesn't really do it all that often.
Yeah, that's a good point. Excited about this game and very curious where you guys put it. This was one of the ones I had the most trouble with. New England and Dallas in Big D. Brad.
Cowboys -7.5.
I went Cowboys -6.5.
I was going to be in a different space here. I said Dallas -4.5. The press had this at 5.7. And let's see here. It's very rare that there's this much space across 7 for one of us. I see DraftKings has it at 7. FanDuel has it at 6.5, but really heavily juiced. Circa's at 7, even money both sides. So we'll make it 7. I'll start. I'm gonna take the Patriots. I think their defense is really good. I think Dak looks like crap. I think the Mike McCarthy calling plays thing, like every single Sunday, you're going to see some Fox, segment on the wonder that is Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott calling plays together. And I don't know when it's all of a sudden going to change to like, why isn't this working? But why isn't it working? So yeah, they have played the Giants in a monsoon, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Jets with Zach Wilson. Like, what part of that makes anything of what they like? We don't know anything about this team. The most real team that they've played thus far has been the Arizona Cardinals, and they lost. So the Patriots have been better than their outcomes thus far. I think that the game that they played today was a very, very challenging game. The Jets are a really good defense. It was in inclement weather. So I'm not comparing that to the Dallas game by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's very, very different. So yeah, I love New England getting a full 7 here. And I'm curious what the total is, because I would probably lean under if it's anything above like 43.5.
I see 41. I was hoping it'd be higher as well.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
Brad, Arjun, doing anything here?
No bet for me.
Yeah, no bet for me either.
Yeah, I had a feeling I'd be a lone ranger there, but I feel good about it. Dak, Kirk Cousins, Prescott, Arizona and San Francisco, the probably biggest spread of the day. Brad, would you make this?
Yeah, I had Niners minus 14.5.
I went Niners minus 13.
Wow, I went Niners minus 12.5. The Cardinals have been good. Like, they've been good. So yeah, I went 12.5. I'm certainly going to be on the side of the Cardinals, I guess, here. It is 14, pretty much across the board. So I looked into this a little bit. The Cardinals have been a top 10 offense throwing the ball this year in EPA per play, but it's a little fluky. Josh Dobbs has performed really well under pressure thus far. We know that's very unstable, and this is not the place to hope that performance under pressure remains stable. Okay, this is not the game. So I'm going to stay away here. I do think I do think you can make a case for Arizona, finding a way to cover here, but I think you can easily look at this year thus far and go San Francisco and Miami are these two teams that just kind of have it going, right? And the only thing that's sort of going to stop them is, do they have, a big injury? But besides that, I think they're the two most complete teams out there and are capable of beating anyone. That's right, anyone by multiple scores. So I'm passing.
Yeah, credit to the Cardinals. They also really ran the ball down Dallas's throat today to a degree, which was impressive. And I do think that is the weakness in Dallas. It's why they poured resources, a first-round pick, and Arjun's guy, Mozzie Smith, tried to address linebacker, have had a bunch of injuries. Anyway, I don't think you can run the ball on, this interior plus Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not betting it, but I think if you're indexing on the Dallas-Arizona result, or even maybe looking at, is Arizona and the Giants are a common opponent, all those things, I don't know. I'm staying away because it's just a massive divisional spread, and Arizona has looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, look at these numbers here. Like, these are the rushing efficiency numbers. Averaging nearly 0.3 EPA per rush on 23 runs is just unbelievable. So, I mean, really, really efficient for the Cardinals here. This is impressive. A really impressive game. Arjun, you doing anything with us?
I'm not. One idea, though, would be Cardinals' first half spread. They've actually won the first half outright in every single game. And everyone likes to joke that, Gannon, shows, he's a good coach. He's trying to be competitive in the first half. And then they realize he's trying to tank for Drake May in the second half. So first half spread 7.5. You're getting that touchdown, so I wouldn't mind that, but I think I'm just gonna lay off because San Francisco scares me a lot.
Yeah, rightfully so. And I mean, look, Arizona got their one win out of the way. Like, I think Gannon, it's really interesting. And obviously there's the Gannon Sirianni tie, but like everyone was making so much fun of Nick Sirianni before he started coaching. Like, I mean, it was like bad, right? Like his first press conference. I mean, I think I tweeted something out. Like, it was like, dude, how did you make it to be a head coach? Like, you can't even make it through a press conference. And then what he was playing, he was like shooting hoops with people at the combine or something like that. Like, man, this guy's a complete joke. And now, I mean, he's got a legit, everyone loves Sirianni. He's done a fantastic job. I'm not saying that Gannon is Sirianni by any stretch of the imagination, but it's really, really easy to pick one video clip and be like, this guy's a complete moron. And I think what's interesting about Arizona is what they will look like when Kyler comes back, because clearly they're not a total dumpster fire. And I think they might just be good enough where when Kyler comes back, they try to do something. I'm not saying that they should, but I do think that will be interesting. And it'll be very interesting to see how people adjust when Kyler comes back. And do they get some respect from the market? Kansas City and the Jets. This is Sunday Night Football. Great Sunday Night Football game with Zach Wilson, as everyone predicted. Brad, what'd you make this?
Jets plus 9.5.
I went Jets plus 10.
I went Jets plus 10.5. And what is it here? It is, interesting. So FanDuel has this 8.5 minus 105. Circa's got it at 9. DraftKings has it at 9. We'll call it 9. So I not minus 9, obviously. If I knew that Mahomes, I'm a little worried about his ankle. I do think that they actually match up decently well against the Jets. I think their defense has performed really well, and I think that'll be a problem for Zach Wilson in this game. I'm tempted to lay off, though, just because of Mahomes' ankle and, his scrambling ability. The fact that he just doesn't take sacks is such a valuable asset. In particular, I think a valuable asset against a strong defensive line in the Jets. If I knew that he was healthy, I would definitely take the Chiefs minus 9.
Arjun, do you know Quinnen Williams' status? Arjun, have you read anything about it?
No, I haven't. So
yeah,
I can't speak on that.
they're your team, so I had to ask because it's your boys. I don't know if he looked pretty bad, like a decently bad injury, which doesn't, it's just one player, but I don't know if he plays in this game either.
Anyone tempted to take? You guys are all still over the number. Anyone taking the Chiefs?
Nope.
Man, I'm really tempted. The press had this at 8.8. I do feel like we're, next week we're going to come on here in the middle of the fourth quarter because it's Chiefs by 30. We should be like, why didn't we do that?
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, Wilson looks totally lost. Honestly, I think if Rodgers weren't proclaiming that he was going to heal magic, with the sound of Dolphins mating in a few weeks, like I think that is honestly keeping them from making a significant move, which is kind of
real
funny.
Quick on that, because I sent you guys the video, and I know we're almost done here, but it was a reminder to me. We're all engaging in the Twitter discourse and all that. You've probably seen the quote where Robert Saleh said, "Zach gives us the best chance to win." You may have quote tweet dunked on it. You may have made fun of it. Go watch the video of him saying that sentence, and it is the least confident utterance of words I've ever seen in the history of mankind. Trust me, he doesn't think that Zach Wilson gives him the best chance to win. So that quote was just taken. It's funny watching him try to get those words out of his mouth. I think they're going to have to make a move. I don't know if it's before the Chiefs game, but they just can't keep trotting out Zach Wilson. He's not a top 100 quarterback in the world. That's a fact. Like, that's not even an opinion. It's a fact.
How many college quarterbacks are better than Zach Wilson?
A dozen. The entire Pac-12.
It's tough. It's really, really tough. By the way, the Zach Tantillo, our awesome social media manager, head of social media, he's a huge fan of non-Wong teasers. It's kind of a bit. He loves Chiefs, Eagles, Chiefs down to 3 and Eagles down to 1. At least one of those like kind of is a Wong teaser, sort of, kind of.
Almost.
Yeah, kind of. And at least the Chiefs one gets to 3, but like, come on. Seattle and the Giants, Monday Night Football. Brad.
G-Men +2.
Same.
I have the G-Men by 1.5 points. Some on the other side of 0. Much. It is Giants +1.5. I'm going to stay away. I mean, I think +1.5, -1.5, not a big difference there. So yeah, I mean, the Seahawks beating the Panthers to me with Andy Dalton, congratulations. And the Giants at this point, after a long rest, they just got their butt whooped by a really, really good team. So this is going to feel a lot different. Going from the Niners, playing the Niners on a short week, and that pass rush to playing the Seahawks on a long rest is going to be a very different feeling.
Arjun, go ahead.
No, because I've been waiting. I've been waiting.
Yeah, it's been teased. I think Arjun called it immediately when I mentioned in the chat a couple hours ago. Drum roll, please. The over 45 in this game is insane. 45 points? Are you kidding me? These defenses are atrocious. These are two of the worst defenses in the NFL. Oh my God, I have so much money, irresponsible amounts of money on the over 45 in this game.
Yeah, I love this also. I was like doing my research on this, and Seahawks are, you share your research because I'm sure you've done it also, and you're the one with the money on the line. So let's see what you have to say, Brad, on this over.
Yeah, I mean, neither team can generate a pass rush in any way, shape, or form. You probably get Andrew Thomas back for this game. You might get one or both of Seattle tackles back for this game. I still don't even think it really matters. I think both teams have shown they can attack the middle of the field. The safety play for both teams has been terrible. There's everywhere you look at it. They both, I think, can run the football. Maybe Saquon plays in this game too. I mean, no matter how you slice it, I mean, you're going to have a bunch of injured Giants corners against a really good trio in Seattle. On the flip side, the Giants, they don't have any like dynamic dudes, but they have a bunch of guys that can catch the ball. I cannot believe. Look, Brian Daboll bounced back. They had 150 yards in that game. Both teams' pace of play last year was around top half of the NFL. I think this is going to be actually that's not Seattle. I think it was like 20th, but still, like I could not have bet this faster if I tried.
To add on to that, Seattle currently through week 3 ranks 27th in EPA per play allowed. Giants are 29th. You look at dropback, Seattle's 27th in dropback EPA. Giants are 30th. Seattle's 29th in dropback success rate allowed. You get a Wink Martindale blitzing defense with two guys with their outside court. It's rookie Deontay Banks and I don't even remember who the second one is.
Trey Hawkins, yeah.
Trey Hawkins against DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
And then you get the Seattle secondary that, let me just say, allowed Adam Thielen at age a million to catch 11 passes for 145 yards. Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, there is no defensive resistance here. My only worry, like literally my only worry is it's at MetLife, and it's going to be back-to-back at MetLife because the KC Jets game is the night before that I'm not sure how bad the field is going to be or whatever, but that would be like my only concern. But all the numbers, the just schematics, everything lines up towards this over. So I love it personally. And yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the MetLife thing is true. Although I think obviously the first time that happened was the Jets game with Rodgers. I think that could skew offense if defenders are slipping all over the place, right? I think sometimes we hear about how conditions can actually help the offense. I'm not trying to coach a bet. I mean, this is like, go over.
I'm in. Let's do it. Over 45.
I love that. Arjun, you guessed this right away. I love it.
Impressive.
I love it.
That's impressive. That's great. I did not. I actually didn't really do a lot of thinking about this game. It would be interesting to do like a guess the totals. Because I'd be very curious where we would have ended up here. I think I would have probably landed somewhere in the 46.5, 47.5 range. And my guess is that tomorrow we'll see it somewhere around there. I mean, once people listen to the podcast, of course. All right. That was our podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for nearly 90 minutes. We appreciate it. We'll be back on Wednesday. If you did enter the Set the Lines podcast or Set the Lines contest, you will get your scorecard emailed out to you, and we will share the leaderboard as well. So definitely make sure that you're in the Discord so you can check that out, and that you can see how you did so far. And then on Wednesday, we'll share out how everything went from last week. That was our podcast. Thank you all. Peace.